together.
Okay, so I wanted to start with this little quote from Jeff Sutherland, which I quite like. And I think this is really where Holacracy has grown from, because the founder of Holacracy, who we're going to hear from later, Brian Robertson. This is Brian, and this is Tom. They're the two founders of Holacracy One. And Brian actually ran an agile software company and recognized that agile worked exceptionally well for software development, but he actually wanted his whole company to be agile. And so started to work with how could he develop an operating system for the whole organization that would also be agile. And of course, all of the problems that everybody finds with waterfall projects, etc., also get in the way when you're starting to look at how does this work in different departments such as HR, in sales, in all the other aspects of running a whole company, including how does the board behave with that and what are their agile behaviours. And so he designed this whole process by developing it in his own company. So it was an emergent process in itself. He didn't just think it up and project it onto the company. It was an emergent process in developing it. And one of the things that came out quite strongly was that people's behaviour was not controlled by the leader. In fact, what it enabled was a distributive authority throughout the organisation where decisions were made at an appropriate level. Last sprint that you had, Sharon Constantin looked at the board as the radar of the ship, which holds the vision and sets the strategic direction. And detail is what the management do. And in fact, that's exactly the same with Holacracy, because the board is actually still the radar on the ship. The way that Holacracy works is there are units which are complete in their own right, which they call circles, which are also part of the greater whole. So the board actually sits on the edge. The greater whole that it is part of is the world at large, the commercial world at large. So the board is constantly sensing what's going on in the commercial world and setting the strategic direction for the company. From that perspective, it's no different to what to any other company and to what Sharon was describing. However, where it gets slightly different is where you have the general company circle here, which has inside it other circles. So you may have a sales circle in this particular Holacracy, you have a sales circle, you have an operations circle, and a development department. Now I picked out some of the development work that's going on in Ordnance Survey and said, well, within that development circle, you've got solutions engineering going on, and that could be a circle. You've got business systems engineering on, that could be a circle, and geospatial engineering going on, and that could be a circle. The difference is that each of those circles is a self-organizing team. So the way that it works is this area here, which is the organization's purpose, is actually the pull factor. So whatever the organization's purpose is where the organization is going. And at the other side, you're getting stuff done. Now, for those of you that are used to Agile, that'll be very, very familiar. The difference is that when you start to get the stuff done, and you start to get the feedback from reality, you start to sense the tensions that are going on. A tension is basically a difference between where am I now and where do I want to be? What's the gap? So it may be that actually, in order to get this next scrum done, we need something that we haven't got, and that would be a tension. We've got to go and find that something that we haven't got. Or it may be the tension is there that we can see that there is a greater opportunity that we're not fulfilling, and that's a tension, and we need to actually to voice that tension and say, okay, how do we bring that in? And that's actually what Brian has been describing in building this this whole series. And those, from a tactical perspective, are processed via tactical meetings, which lead to clear work, to projects, to actions, and they get executed. And that, in turn, comes back into, we've got stuff done, and that will lead to, and what next? What's the next tension? Where Agile didn't work, as Brian Robertson was putting this together, didn't work for his larger organisation, was that it was very, very good at small, tight projects, very good at software development. But in terms of then running an organisation as a whole, it didn't allow for changing of the rules if you needed to change the rules. It didn't allow for those things. So he started to bring in some other types of structures as well. So he brought in processed governance meetings, which give a clear structure in terms of distributed authority. So the governance is about the structure, whereas the tactical is about the work, but they're processed in a similar way that distributes the authority down to the right level within the organisation via those circles. So, let's get on to see what Brian has to say about all of this. Let's keep